2.3 multi-view drawings. In this activity, we are going to create two projections in our designs, and then we're going to turn them both into multi-view drawings with the proper dimensions involved. We are going to be using Onshape to do this. So you would start off by first clicking on the word Onshape up here. That brings you to your general folder list. Now, I am making videos here, so I have my old folder here. Yours are probably just in the regular piece. So I have my lesson 2.2. I'm creating a new folder. I'm going to call this folder lesson 2.3. Obviously, because it's the lesson 2.3 we're going over. After I create it, I'm going to double click on it to open, and now I'm going to create myself a document. Now this document is going to be the first thing we're making. I am going to call this arc, and then whatever your last name is. Mine's Valentino, so that's what I would call mine. You're just putting your last name. So I create my document, and it brings me to the generalized Onshape main category. So now I'm in my screen. Number one thing is I notice here that these numbers are in millimeters. It's listed more like that on your worksheet. So I have to go up to my three horizontal bars, click on them, go down to the word that says workspace units, and we're dealing with lengths. Now this says inches right here. I'm just going to change it to millimeters. Now I don't need to be crazy with the decimals because I'm going to whole numbers, so I'm just going to change it from the thousandth place to just a whole number. And then I hit on the green triangle, not the X. So now I got my length in millimeters, and I'm ready to go. So the way I'm going to build this figure is I'm going to construct this arc like we did in the previous exercise, and then I'm going to push it back, extrude it backwards. So if you remember how to do this, we start by just sketching on the front plane. So we click sketch. We're going to sketch on our front plane, and we make sure we highlight this yellow and click it again. You know you're good when it says sketch front plane. I'm just going to drag this over here to get out of my way. Typically you'd have this whole screen open, but I want to make sure you can see what's in the top left corner and see what we're making. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this rectangle, and I know it's 37 millimeters wide and 18 millimeters tall. So I'm going to go over to a corner rectangle. I'm going to click on my origin, and then I drag it up. I'm not going to get it exactly, so I just click somewhere up there. I'm going to click 37 across, hit the return or the enter button, and then I'm going to be 18 units high, and I'm going to enter. Now, I'm just going to hit escape so I could pull this out of here and it looks a little nicer. Since I'm going to put a circle on the bottom, I pull this up. Things you don't have to do, but I am going to zoom in a little bit. All right, oops, too much, so I zoom out. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to make this semicircle. So as we did before, we're going to go to a center point circle. If you click on here, center point circle. As I drag this across, watch what happens. You'll notice a yellow square opens up. So if I zoom in a little bit better, you can see I'm scrolling across. That is the midpoint of the bottom of my rectangle. So I'm going to click on that for my center, drag my circle out, and what you can see is this circle has a diameter of 27, which I just happen to hit perfectly. I'll hit 27 just to make sure, and boom, I got my piece. All right, I hit escape, and now I got my arc right there. So I don't want these other pieces of the circle, so what you're going to do is you need to trim them. Now, typically it's going to be up here. It's not up here for me now because I have my thing a little scrunched. So I just go over and I'm looking for the, where's that? Right there. I'm looking for the trim tool. Now the trim tool, it trims a line or a curve as we did before, and it cuts the piece from point to point. So I want to cut the bottom of the circle off. Notice the highlighted piece is the one that gets trimmed. I'm going to cut this piece as well. It's only going to trim to the midpoint, which is okay. So now this, even though it looks dark, there's nothing there, but you can see there's something here because it highlights, and I click on that. So I move my trimmer around, nothing else is left. I hit escape. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and now I have my arc. All right, so that is the front face of my figure. I'm going to click on the top right of my cube to get it so I can 3D view this. Now, once we do this, we can see right here, it is a depth of 18 millimeters. So I'm going to go up here to the word extrude. I'm extruding this right here, and the extrude distance is going to be 18. It doesn't matter if you do 18 or negative 18. In this case, we're just going to do 18. All right, so now I have my figure. And this right here was the first step, the first thing you will be uploading. So you go Control-Shift-4, you're going to screenshot this picture, and now you have your picture that you're going to upload to Canvas. All right. Now the goal of this lesson, though, is to create multi-view drawings. So a little bit different than Fusion's 360. There's no design button up here. So you bring your mouse down to where it says Part. Once you get down to Part, which is right here, I'm moving my mouse around it, I am going to, if you're using your MacBook, click with 2 fingers. If you're using a IBM or a Windows-based computer, you right-click. So you click that, and then you're going to go up to create a drawing of part 1. All right? So when you do this, I'm creating a drawing of part 1. I'm going to click on it, and now it brings me to this right here. Now I have a couple things right here. This is where it brings out my templates. Mine already has, now the MM stands for millimeters, the INCH stands for inch, okay? The A stands for the type of template it is. So if you don't have the millimeter one, which you want to use, you would go to Show Onshape Templates, and you'd pick it. All right, I want to use Sheet A, and I also want to use the millimeters one. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on No Views, and I'm going to hit OK. Now watch what happens when I do that. It brings me to my new drawing. Come on. And it's going to load. All right, you can see some stuff up here already. I'm going to take this box, which has my front arc, and I'm just going to drop it down, and I'm going to hit Enter. All right, so I placed down my base view. So that's my base view. I'm going to escape just to give you a second to look at this. Now, if I look down here in my table in the bottom, it says dimensions are in millimeters, so that's good. It has your name. It has the date, 3/15. It was the date I made this. It has our scale, 2:1. If you want to change your scale, you can, but it pretty much gives you the good scale you want. It also has a title, okay? You may want to change your title. I'm going to change my title, which I think you should, so you double-click on that, and then you type your title. Your title is just going to simply be 2.3 multi-view drawings. All right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Enter, and we're going to call this one the arc. All right? Now watch what happens. I also want to come here, and I'm just going to shift this over to the left. I'm going to shift this top piece over to the left as well. It's like a justification, and I hit the Enter side. Now, when you look at this, you can see this is kind of over, and it's not where it should be. You could just take this, and you could drag it into the title page right here, and then you're good. All right? These gray things will disappear when I actually print this out, so that's not necessary. All right. So now that we got our thing set up here, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to make some projections. So the first projection we're going to make is going to be the right projection, and then we're going to make the top projection. So right here, it says projected view, which is what we want, and we click on our base view, and you just drag it over. All right. When you drag it over, you notice that is the right side view. I can click on this again, and this will give me the top view. Now the last thing you're going to want to do is you want to click on it one more time. You click to the top right, and it gives us our isometric view. And I hit Enter. So right now I have all 3 views. They're not exactly in the best position. You could take them and you can drag them to where you want them to be. So that's up to you. So say I want to drag this guy down a little bit, I can. Say I want to move this down. Notice this moves with it. If I move this to the left and the right, the one above it moves with it. So everything moves off the base. All right. So we got this. What we're going to do next is we want to make this shaded. So in order to make this shaded, you could double click it. That does not make it shaded. That just tells you the view, the scale, and stuff like that. Nice to know. If I right click it or click it with 2 fingers, I can go to Show Hide. And when I go to this figure right here, I want to go to Show Shaded View. And what that will do is that will shade it, and now that shows us that it's not really part of our problem. The next thing you want to do is you want to show hidden lines. All right. Now, we want to show that these lines are here, so we can see it here, and we want to see this top line hidden here. Now, if you double-click this and go to Show Hidden Lines, what happens is nothing happens. But if you go to the top view and you go Show Hidden Lines, it's going to show the hidden lines. If you go to this one, show hidden lines, it shows the line across the top. So now these little dashes or hidden lines are going to show that there is indeed something inside here. And this is the top view. It's showing that these pieces down here are below. All right. The last thing you want to do is after you show your hidden lines, you're going to want to create a center line down here to show where the center of your semicircle is. Now normally it'd be up here on the top screen. What you could do is you can click on the 2-point center line, which is right here, and what you really want is an edge to edge center line. That's the easiest thing to do. And now I want it between these two hidden lines, so I click on one hidden line, and it's just going to assume this is the other one, and it puts the center line right in the dead center of it, which is where it should be, because the center of a circle is between both hidden lines. All right, so now you're all set up, and the last thing you need to do now is dimension. Now the dimension button is right here. It says dimension, and what that does is that is going to give us the straight lines here. So you're going to place a dimension on any type of curve. I pick my dimension, and you're just going to dimension the most important things first, which is the length, width, and height. So right here, I can dimension my height. Notice it comes out as an 18 because this says it's in millimeters. I could dimension the entire length at the top. All right, and then if I want to dimension the depth right here, this piece right here, 18, I can go on either side here. I'm just going to go on the left-hand side. Doesn't really matter. And I kind of want to line it up at the bottom. All right. Some other dimensions that would be useful are 5, 27, and 5, so I could do them. If you want to just highlight the piece, you can. That's pretty easy. The pink line makes it line up. And then if I want to go from point to point, this will say that this piece right here is 27. All right. You don't necessarily have to put this because I could do subtraction to do this, but it's always nice to start by practicing. So if I press escape, I'm out of here. If I zoom in, say I want this more in the center, I can always just drag the numbers over. All right, whoops, it's zoomed in on way a lot. All right, say I want this 37 down a little bit, I can drag it down a little bit, make it even with the 27, make it look a little nicer. Zoom out of that, whoops. All right. Oop, where am I at? Boom, boom. All right, the zoom gets a little, I'm still getting used to the zoom. Okay, pull this back a little bit. That's lined up, so that's good. So we got pretty much all the dimensions we need. All right, once you get all the dimensions you need, that's your final answer. We're done. You're going to do Control-Shift-4. You're going to screenshot this right here, and then you're good. You have your figure. Okay, so once again, once you're done, you screenshot it, and you're done. All right. Now we're going to move on to the second figure. So you're going to click on Onshape, and we're going to create a new one. Notice it saves automatically, and there's nothing you need to do. If I click back on this, the way to get back and forth between your original drawing and this drawing, it's not saved as two different things. It's saved as one thing. On the bottom right here, you see Parts Drawing 1. You also can go to Parts Studio. If you go back to Parts Studio, that goes back to your original piece. If you change this piece, the Parts Drawing will change with it. All right, so I'm just going to go show you how to do that, and we're done. So I hope you guys learned how to do this, and we'll move on to the next one.